Hello, Ryan here, and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all of the news from the week just past. Be sure to subscribe if you like what you see, and let's get on with it. This week, we get to see the latest progress on Orison. We hear about plans for landing zones, roads, player hangars, and more. And finally, we hear about potential secret locations yet to be discovered in the verse. So this week's Inside Star Citizen kicked off looking at the upcoming Crusader landing zone, Orison. For Orison, CIG wanted to create a visually distinctive location from anywhere else they have done in the past, and it feels more like a destination that separates itself from any of the landing zones. Orison itself is a floating city where Crusader manufacture their ships like the Star Runner, the Star Lifter, and the yet-to-see Starliners. It's a place for the Crusader employees to work and live, but at the same time, they wanted to create a location that people would want to visit, unlike somewhere, say, like Lorville. Now, when you arrive at Orison, you are greeted with Cloud View Center, which is the commercial platform and the main hub for Orison. It has a sense of pageantry, which you would expect from a theme park. And as you make your way in, you see a relaxing area with trees, and for Orison, they wanted to create a bit more movement to the landing zone. So they spread cherry blossom trees throughout the location, allowing the blossom to be blown around, creating a nice sense of calm. Now, as you all know, space whales do live within the clouds of Crusader's planet, and they are a big tourist attraction, with space whale tours eventually being an option. So they created a statue to celebrate this, and I would expect that this statue of the whale will be an example of one of the whales that does reside in the clouds when that time comes. Green Circle are the main hubs for Orison, and it has a nice lobby as well as a hot tub just in case. Now, the hubs look like they are like any other hub, but with a bit more of a look and feel of Orison, so more organic materials like wood and plants to make them feel more homely rather than high-tech like in the other landing zones. Now, personally, I would have loved it if they could have had introduced maybe a balcony or garden space for the Orison hubs. Of course, not to say later down the line they won't. I'm sure we will see that kind of thing, and I assume these are more of just a necessity for now, but I would have loved to be able to step out onto a balcony and just take in those views. So there's also Stratus, which is the main shopping arcade and building with lots of character to it, plus Orison will have the Voyager bar, which we recently saw, allowing people to take in the views of Crusader while having a drink. What is quite cool about Orison is that they're building it with room to grow for later releases. They're going to add the Orison General Hospital and the main Crusader ship showroom, which will be a brilliant place to visit. But they're also setting up maintenance access points around the landing zone, with the idea that they can lead to mission areas where players could be assigned to do repairs or sneak in for various reasons. So there's a lot of option for future expansion and missions. Now, I really love the idea of this having lots of areas, not just for some illegal stuff, but also general work, day-to-day kind of work. Anyway, Orison is looking phenomenal, and CIG appear to be doing a great job with it, and I cannot wait to make it my new home. So next up, we heard about the upcoming systemic vehicle visual degradation, which is set to release in Alpha 3.13 at the end of March. Now, they want the ships to feel like they are grounded into the verse, and that the verse leaves its mark on your ship, telling the tale of where you've been. As you use your ship, you will be able to see realistic effects based on where you've been and what you've been doing. 3.13 brings the first version of this visual degradation, but they also want to explore it even further for the future, and right now they are looking into what where means across the board. Now, they want ships to look like they are aging, and they will do this via various elements like dirt, being the environmental buildup like snow, dust, sand, and for example, if you land in a muddy swamp, then you would expect to see mud on your landing gear, but also the buildup of grime as your ship ages. Now, wear is more things like paint fading, surface scratches, lacquer peeling off as you rub up against something or go through the atmosphere, so expect there to be many elements that wear away your ship visually. Now, the first version of vehicle degradation is going to be visual only, and they're working out the various materials that wear differently or age differently. So, for example, certain manufacturers like Origin would likely have more expensive materials or paints that wear better than the lower end variants. Now, for the initial release, it will only apply to a limited number of ships so that they can dial in the values to verify everything. We don't know exactly what ships to begin with, but we did see in this demo that we've got the Gladius, the Argo Mole, the Aegis Reclaimer, the Anvil Karak, and the Origin 890 Jump, and possibly I noticed it could be a Sabre and a prospector as well, but they will obviously roll them out more between each patch as they go. To clean our ships for the initial release, it'll be handled the same way as repairing, rearming and refueling, so using your Mobi-Glass when you land and requesting the cleaning. Now personally, this is one of my favourite features coming in Alpha 3.13. I love the idea of our ships changing over time and giving us more a sense that they are affected by the environment and they need to be looked after. But that was inside Star Citizen. Let us move on. So this week's Star Citizen Live was with the Landing Zone content team, and for the majority of the show they spoke about the evolution of landing zones from Levski, ArcCorp, Hurston, Lorville, New Babbage and Grim Hex, just speaking in regards to what they did and how the generation of landing zones have improved from one to the next. At the end of the show, around 15 minutes, they did answer some of the questions from the backers, so we will start there. But if you do want to watch their thoughts and opinions on how the landing zones have evolved, then be sure to follow that link in the description. So first question is, what is happening with player hangars? Now they are still planned and they will bring them to the PU at some point. They are branding these hangars accordingly as they implement the hangars into the persistent universe, like for example AeroView hangars and now Microtex hangars. But I'm not sure at what point they will be able to get physical player-owned hangars in game. I would expect it will require some of the core tech coming this year and into next year, so once that is implemented, then there's a better chance of seeing them as the state of them inside and outside and the ownership will persist. Next question is, when can we use the landing pads on top of the CBD tower at Lorville? Now they said it is possible that for the future they can look into how players will enter the CBD, maybe from that location, but I think it was mentioned when it was built that they could be more of a reputation option, maybe getting more rep with Hurston, and also they're supposed to be used by the Hurston upper echelons like the employees and the family. But they did say that they also future-proof locations, meaning that they are there if they need them so that they can be used later on. Next question, will we get some glass elevators with outward-facing windows so that we can appreciate the views? And they say yes, that is something that they do want for elevator rides, so they're not as boring. Will we ever get to see the Lorville Workers District? And they said right now most landing zones are very sparse when it comes to gameplay. They do have a long list on what they want to include in these locations for the future. For example, workers' districts and rooftop landing locations and so on. What CIG have said in the past is that they begin with the main landing zone for each of Stanton's planets, and then from there they will then populate the rest of the planet with villages, towns, settlements and points of interest, as well as expand on the main landing zones as they go, so they are not finished yet. Someone asked simply roads, and it's definitely potential for roads. I know it's something they do want, and they have mentioned this in the past. And I think they even actually created a road or a racetrack for, was it Hurston or maybe it was Daymar. But like with rivers, using this terrain deformation, it will likely be possible, but it does depend on the landing zone and whether they are needed. So it will be a case-by-case situation if and when they decide to start implementing them. Next question, can we get some open-air landing pads at Area 18? So spaceport landing pads are supposed to be for the AI traffic to create this sense of movement within the verse, and many of those pads will be for them. They now tend to waver towards hangars rather than landing pads, as they don't want ships popping in and out on the pads that are visible to the player. So if they do have landing pad options in the future, then there will be a bit of a premium to pay for that landing pad, as your ship will not despawn. Hangars, they say, are also safer as no one can actually get to the ship, unlike landing pads. Now I know they have said in the past that they're unsure as to how to get around the ships popping in and out on landing pads, and they don't like it because it's very unimmersive. It does sound as though maybe they're going to use hangars where possible, and then if they have landing pads, then your ship will persist. Next question, are you planning more landing zones for each planet? Similar to the last question, yes, they are. Some planets do have just one landing zone. Some of them may have no landing zones, and others will have multiple sort of flagship style landing zones. The idea is to have as many towns and villages, and what we see at the moment is just getting a single landing zone per planet, for Stanton specifically. From there they will create more. So yes, some planets will have multiple larger cities and towns, but as mentioned before, initially they just want to get the basics in. If you look at ArcCorp, we do have Area 18, but there is also Area 17, Area 21, which will be other cities similar to Area 18, although Area 18 is the flagship Arc Corp headquarters landing zone, so maybe not to that scale, but there will be others in the future. Next question, the Karak barely fits in the hangar. Can we get this changed? And yes, it needs adjusting to allocate the appropriate hangar, so hopefully they can do that sooner than later. And then the final question, it's been a while since we have discovered any secret areas like Benny's Henge. Are there more planned to be implemented? Now, this is a quote from a couple of the developers. They said they think people should look a bit more. Some places may just not have been discovered, and one of them said he knows he has made a few of them on New Babbage that he's even given hints to on Reddit, but he's not seen anyone actually discover it yet. This, to me, is amazing to hear. I have always wondered if there will be other areas yet to be discovered and whether they should tell us or whether I should even bother searching for them. So hearing that there are is music to my ears, and I want to get hunting for them. I do love the idea that years into the future, when we're all playing this final version, that there are some Easter eggs or hidden secrets that were implemented way back in the alpha yet to be discovered. Anyway, that was Star Citizen Live. Let us move on. So also this week we have the 3.12 Post Mortem, in which CIG talk about their thoughts on the 3.12 release, what they felt went well, what didn't go well, and what they plan to change in the future. Now, I will be releasing a video covering this either Monday or Tuesday, so be sure to subscribe if you want to hear what they said. And finally, we had a new Star Watch Spectrum post, which delves into the lives of celebrities found throughout the verse. So that brings us to the end of the show. If you do enjoy my content, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. Also, I am able to do this thanks to my very generous patrons and channel members. If you appreciate what I do and would like to help make it even better from as little as $1 a month, all of the links are provided below.